we talked about the hype, the expectations. We talked about what we think that this fan base is going to continually bring to the table week in, week out with all those expectations. And I thought that Penn State delivered.
Atmosphere was top tier. Like we said before, you couldn't ask for a better opportunity. Night game, under the lights, week 1.
So where do we go from here, B? We come out, we got this marquee matchup. I think we checked a lot of boxes. And again, going back to that big picture we were talking about, you had Ohio State. There's still some question marks. Michigan checked a ton of boxes. But top to bottom, I think we were one of the few teams that any question mark that was coming into that game was answered quickly.
Like I said, I really was pleased with every little piece of the game that I watched. And we're talking about Drew's performance, and as we all see, Big Ten Player of the Week, Offensive Player of the Week, and he did a great job. The things that I look for, and you touched on it, just the little nuances of being a starting quarterback in the Big Ten, Power 5 college football team. Like, I really appreciated that sack. He got popped right in the mouth, and he got right back up.
I thought out of every team that I watched, East to West was probably the fastest defense on Saturday. And I'm talking East to West, top down, sideline to sideline. Very, very scary. I thought the back half looked phenomenal.
Yeah.
Dude, week 1 in the books. A lot of ball.
I
was fired up about it. Let's keep this high level. Let's not dive into Penn State. We got all evening to talk about them. But what you been up to? What you see?
Hey man, college football is back. I love it, as you said. A lot of good ball, a lot of surprises, which is only right in college football. Unpredictability is what it's all about. And Colorado knocking number 17 TCU off. A lot of chit chatter. Deion, were they real? I think we found out.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I love Deion's message. Mm-hmm. I love the thought process, the way he's trying to instill the proper mentality into that team. But at times I disagree with the delivery. Mm-hmm. But I'm gonna be honest with you, now I'm kind of a fan of the delivery.
Right.
I'm completely on board with the delivery. And I saw some video today, Michael Irvin came and talked to him, and it's everyone's waiting for them to fall on their face.
Right.
And it's going to be, top news when they do, but talk about a way to start the season and kick it off, for your locker room, for your guys, for your staff. Shoot, dude. And then I couldn't imagine being him. I just got, I'm a new dad, so I couldn't imagine watching my son light it up, bringing him the whole way, and then your son basically explodes on the Heisman scene.
And you see what he said about Shedeur wanting to play against the TCU head coach and what happened in the camp a few years back. And Shedeur's been waiting on this moment. Like you said, senior son, go out there, not talk about it, just do it.
Yeah,
I can only imagine. So that's a great opportunity. Excited to see where those guys keep going. As you said, everybody's waiting for them to fall. And I think it's an abrasive approach because he's Deion Sanders. He's bringing that same confidence that he has.
Yeah. And
he's giving it to those kids. And as we said before, confidence in college football take you a long way.
Oh, no doubt. And then what's your thought on the rest of the top 10? I thought there were some question marks for sure. But what'd you see specifically? Let's start down south. What about the SEC?
SEC, I think they did what they had to do. It was I'll say a quiet weekend. I think not a lot of rattling going down this first week for me, at least. Besides Florida,
other than LSU,
LSU getting worked. They did get worked.
Yeah,
they got worked.
It was a big win for Florida State.
That was a big win, and I think I don't know if Florida State was a question mark, but people were wondering, are they for real this year? Obviously, only week 1, but they just made a statement against LSU, Brian Kelly and those guys. But they're a good team.
I think that they're gonna dethrone Clemson. I think Clemson's been on a downward spin. Mm-hmm. I've said this in the past, but this is gonna make it the way the Florida State Seminoles have kind of risen from the ashes quickly. I think it's going to make that downhill slide for Clemson much more
harsh
and much more prevalent very quickly. And then I thought Michigan looked great.
They did.
JJ did his thing, physical, top to bottom now. And, who'd they play? East Carolina.
Yep.
So
shutout.
Yeah.
I expected ECU to get some points on the board, at least. I thought they were a formidable opponent. And they usually have, some type of talent somewhere, receiver, running back, quarterback, that can kind of compete. Yeah. That's elite athleticism.
Make a play.
Yeah, but Michigan was teed up, doing it for Harbaugh, free Harbaugh.
Easy.
There was a lot of Michigan fans in our comments.
Yeah, they were.
So we caught their attention at least.
Yeah, I think so. But they look good.
They did.
And I think Ohio State, people jumped the gun with them. Mm-hmm. I thought defensively they looked good. They were flying around. Really good. Mm. I think that they let up the fewest yards of, any top 10 team, were really damn close. And offensively, I just got to get this out there because I think the Kyle McCord kid can play. I think this is the first year where Ohio State hasn't had a dude really solidified in, and I think Ryan Day is trying to feel it out. But if I'm him right now, I'm rolling with McCord because I think he gives you the best chance with the athletes they have on the outside to facilitate the football and then still be a decent enough threat in the run game and be able to kind of just get that whole system meshing. And I think that they're building. And I think that out of the three big teams in the Big Ten East between, Penn State, Ohio State, and Michigan, they probably have the most to grow as quickly.
Right.
But I just have a ton of respect for that program. I have a ton of respect for Ryan Day. So I think they're going to get a handle.
Yeah, you have to. And like you said, it's just the first time in a while that they haven't, like you said, they're kind of room to grow. Usually they're rather full booted week one.
They're banging 70 on somebody.
Yeah. So give it time. There's no drop off, I don't believe.
It's not a drop off of talent. Mm-hmm. Like I said, I think just offensively they got to figure a few things out. I think they will. Yeah. But they're still Ohio State.
Yeah, at the end of the day.
At the end of the day, they're still Ohio State. And I said it last year. The national championship game was the Ohio State Georgia game.
Yeah.
They should have got them. So that's been interesting. Other than that, dude, what's your week been like?
It was good, man. I went up there to State College week 1 against West Virginia. It was live. It was literally like a movie scene. It's a full kind of ensemble of a show up there, and it was beautiful to be back. Obviously, seeing a lot of our boys.
There's a ton of guys up there.
Ton of guys, and I think it's gonna keep up all season, which is fun. Good for the program. Get those alumni up there, and as you know, it's always a good time. You go up there. Catch up with some of the guys and enjoy some good football.
Yeah.
Some good football.
I've been trying to dodge this heat, dude. I went out and I walked 9 holes today just to sweat a little bit.
Yeah.
Trying to. I've kind of gone on like a anti-gym sabbatical. So I'm trying to figure out ways to get my sweat down. I'm trying to lower my handicap. So that's what. I'm more of a low key guy when I get up there. I think the last game I went to, you saw me there, was Pittsburgh in
2017,
something 18. Like that. Yeah, that was the last game I was up to. So we're going up this weekend, and we're taking my son. So it's going to be fun. I've always had a reason to get back. I needed to be up there more, but it's even more so now with the little one. So
get him up there, man. Get him up there drinking the juice early.
Everyone does it, apparently. I didn't come from the Penn State blue blood family, but I guess I'll fall in line.
Yeah, I mean, as I know your family, even if it's not Penn State, he'll be somewhere athlete. All your brothers. How your brothers doing right now?
They're good, man. Brandon's done playing, but my younger brother Adam, who caught at Clemson, he's in AAA with the White Sox, so he's down in Charlotte. They're finishing up their season. I think he's got about 2.5 weeks left, but he's been doing great. He's in his second full year in the minors. And then my youngest brother, who's got drafted by the Braves, Drew, he pitched at Virginia Tech, and he actually just got called up to AA today to finish out the year. He threw 2 games in single A, but
Hackenberg
really
man.
Well. Yeah,
full of athletes.
I'm proud of them, man. They learn from Big Bro's mistakes and figuring out their own path. So it's cool, beautiful. Man. It's cool. Man. But with that, I think that's a great transition. So you're now with the pocket. We're gonna shift this strictly Penn State focused. I want to start with your big weekend. You were up there. You got, like you said, the whole ensemble. You saw the show. We talked about the hype, the expectations. We talked about what we think that this fan base is going to continually bring to the table week in, week out with all those expectations. And I thought that Penn State delivered. What were your thoughts, top to bottom, game, low level, because we're going to deep dive, but game, atmosphere, so on and so forth.
Man, the atmosphere was top tier. Like we said before, you couldn't ask for a better opportunity. Night game, under the lights, week 1.
Yep.
Kind of dodged a little bit of the heat. It died down a little bit, which is perfect football weather.
It's always, but Penn State always seems to do that. First couple weeks, it's always, it's never a scorcher up there.
Right.
Something about Mount Nittany or something.
Yeah, man. But yeah, the weather was good. Atmosphere was great. I was up there actually with a few West Virginia buddies, and they were just amazed at how organized and the tailgate, how big and organized the tailgate scene was.
Hell yeah.
The act was like, I was proud. I feel like a proud dad.
Yeah.
Like, my lawn looks good. Like, he just complimented my lawn. Seriously, we're older now. Like, grass is up kept. Yeah. Streets are clean. There's numbers on the parking spots, all that. They were amazed. Yeah. I never really looked at it like that, but I felt good about it. I was like, yeah, this is my school. I went here.
We know what we're doing a little bit.
a little bit. And then, obviously, the game, they were enamored, We were talking a little junk, and it was tight in the beginning.
You expect that.
But yeah, West Virginia was a great opponent, and they traveled well. Fan base traveled well, which made the atmosphere even better. Everyone was pretty cordial, as we're good fans. So atmosphere was beautiful, led to a beautiful game. Bunch of guys back up. It was a great time, and it was a great game. I wasn't mad at any part of that game. I was very pleased by every second of the game, regardless of what happened.
Yeah, you talk about the Letterman engagement. I was paying attention on Instagram and Twitter and so on and so forth. I mean, you had old heads, young guys, the whole kit and caboodle, man. I think that's grown so much. I think even since when Coach Franklin first got there,
big.
There were guys around, but I feel like everyone's really rallied behind it. I think we finally, as a Letterman club, as a fan base, top to bottom, kind of know what we got here, and going to try and take the bull by the horns this year. So
yeah, man, it's like you said, it's a family reunion. It's really a family atmosphere. Spoke to a bunch of guys up there. They peeped the pod like we were doing. Once again, thank you for all the love, and don't be surprised we hit you guys up. Come on here and talk your experience, your Penn State football experience. So. We're looking for our old guys that we played with, maybe we didn't play with. A lot of different perspectives to bring the Penn State fans that are eager for it.
That's coming. I think we really want to do that. Maybe bowl prep off season. I think that'll be fun. Mm-hmm. I think that'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So where do we go from here, B? We come out. We got this marquee matchup. I think we checked a lot of boxes. And again, going back to that big picture we were talking about, you had Ohio State. There's still some question marks. Michigan checked a ton of boxes. But top to bottom, I think we were one of the few teams that any question mark that was coming into that game was answered quickly. And the question marks that have come up after the game are things that, in my opinion, are A, very correctable, B, part of first game jitters, under the lights, beginning of the season. I mean, everyone's got fresh legs. There's a whole bunch of stuff that the normal fan doesn't really think about that goes into that. Where do we go from here? We got Delaware this week. We're going to dive into the game a little more, but I just kind of want to get your thoughts on the transition for us.
I mean, I'd like to, like I said, even before we get to the game, I'd like to throw it at you. There was a lot of talk in the media about Coach Franklin not necessarily naming a starter.
Yeah.
During camp, and obviously we knew the two guys that were going at it. I kind of want to throw it at you to speak on your Penn State quarterback competition, training camp experience, whether it was battling T. Ferg that first year or the second year, and Coach Franklin's offense, new system, leading up to that big game one, whether it was 2013 or 2014, you tell us, give us your experience a little bit.
Yeah, I think 2013, and I've said this before, like I was just dumb, and I knew I had a chance, so I was so hyper-focused on my job, every rep. Like, people talk about it, but once you're kind of the guy, it gets really hard not to see the big picture and think about the big picture, and especially with what Coach O'Brien asked me to do going into Coach Franklin's offense my second year, like trying to make things kind of mesh with what you were first taught. So my first year, I think, was easier. And then my second year was again, there was a little more of like just really trying to settle in and get all of the big pieces together, and that's been touched on. Like there was a lot that was going on. But yeah, I mean, I think the way that the quarterback room up there at least projects itself between Bo and Drew in terms of being on a really cohesive tandem. They want to push each other. They're not like most of these kids. And I think it's probably because Bo wasn't this huge recruit. Drew was, but Bo is a really, really good football player. He reminds me a lot of Trace. He's got a lot of
not just the number 9 either.
Not just the number 9, not the way they walk, like the way that he's just a natural competitor, like doesn't run from that. And I think moxie. I think you see that in a lot of these programs nowadays, especially with the transfer portal. These kids, you know, if it's not their job, they're hitting it and they're out and they're trying to find this. And you see guys like JT Daniels that's at Rice. It's like his 5th school. And I'm not knocking the kid. Right. I know him, but I'm just saying, like, I think that there's a benefit to sticking it out, competing. And then I think not only does that benefit you as the backup, but it also benefits the starter. Right. Because you're always going to be pushed. It's a familiar face, and it's one of those co-opetition type of relationships where everyone understands what the deal is right now as it is. But I think Bo specifically has really handled it like a pro, and I think Drew also has, and I think it's a testament to the way Yursich runs that room. So to kind of bring it all together, I didn't necessarily have a ton of that. And I think it's been really, really good for both those guys.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, you can still speak on how important it is to have a good quarterback room, and that goes throughout the whole team. I mean, cohesiveness, the energy, the everything of the team. As much as talent matters and scheme, maybe talk about is numbers, just cohesiveness and I don't know, you want to call it the brotherly bond. Yeah. It matters. It matters.
Well, it is that brotherly bond. It is the understanding of, like, we may hate each other for 2 hours at practice. And we I mean, shoot, dude, we did. Like, we had some drop down spring ball and training camp, like just dog days, like had it out, man. But then the ability to flip the switch and understand that the only reason we were doing that was to get each other better. We got in the locker room and it was cool, man. We were in the cold tubs, talking about it, chopping it up. So, I think they did a great job, and happy for Bo to get a little burn there at the end of the game.
Sure.
So, that's how I see it. But offensively, like I said, I think they answered a ton of question marks. Drew obviously did. I kind of want you to touch on that a little bit, and then I'll chime in there afterwards. But I think Drew answered it. I thought our question mark of the receiver room really stepped up. I think my guy Malik McLean did a damn good job. I think he's going to be a difference maker. And then talk a little bit about how we did it. Like you look at the stat sheet. I think one tight end. I think Tyler Warren had 1 reception. The running backs were pretty even. They averaged about 5 yards a carry. But I thought they did it in a. It was fun to watch. It was a beautiful way, and I think it's only going to set them up in the future. For when teams do start getting tape on Drew and do start seeing tendencies, and once that kind of data set starts to fill up.
Yeah, man. I mean, you said it. The quote-unquote question mark with the receivers, that kind of goes to what you were talking about, the tight ends and the maybe lack of production in the first game. Because, I mean, there's a plethora of weapons, and we said there's only one ball to go around, and it's a good problem to have. The receiver stepped up, and Drew, alongside obviously having a great game, was more than what I expected. I didn't expect anyone to be bad, and I knew Drew had good a good season last year, but he definitely overexceeded all of my expectations, and so did the receivers. And it was a beautiful sight. I mean, the offense can go in any which direction they want, which goes to you saying, you know, defenses are going to key on certain things, certain players, and I think they'll have an answer for whatever comes their way throughout this year. And it may just have not been the tight end's day week 1, but I know for sure those guys will be ready. And whenever it's week 5, 6 against whoever it is, there'll be a day for the tight ends, and it'll balance itself out.
To get nerdy and on the good side, you know, Penn State threw a bunch of different run looks at teams. You know, they were zone, they were gap, they were counter, which is great to have on tape. I thought the offensive line was super, super physical. And one of the things people talked about was the pressure on Drew, and we kind of hinted at this. Some of it, I think, was just him being a young quarterback and, like, not having a ton of game reps under his belt in protection and understanding that you don't necessarily have to escape out of this. You can actually make your guard's job easier when he's pulling off a big, hard play action to set a guy up for a block. You know, and that's all going to come. And I thought the throws and, you know, off-platform and all that stuff was great. But I think that's all part of their cohesiveness. And to your point, when you got a war chest like that, you want to get as much on tape as you can, because I think really Yurcich, and I may be giving the guy too much credit, but I think he tried to throw a bunch of different looks out there to kind of elongate what I was getting at with Drew, because eventually they have a small sample size from last year, what Drew does. But this happens with everybody. Like, once you start getting tape and you start getting tendencies, I mean, you've sat in defensive meeting rooms getting prepared for opposing quarterbacks. Those guys, the defensive coordinators, aren't getting paid $1 million for nothing. Like, they study those nuances. They study the tendencies of the quarterback. You're seeing it at practice. They're scripting the cards for it. So I think being able to throw a bunch of stuff out there and present things a lot of different ways, and then also leave a lot of open gaps to start filling where, okay, you know, we highlighted some deeper shots with the receiving crew this year or this week. Next week, maybe we have better matchups with the tight ends, and we're going to start fixing them and the consistent theme is their ability to run the freaking football. And I just think that's only going to help Drew, again, extend that game where people are going to kind of have a key on what he's doing. He's going to have to do something different mid-game and make that adjustment, which I'm looking forward to, because I think he'll transition fine. But I thought it was a beautiful job by Mike Yurcich presenting a bunch of things. And then if I'm a defensive coordinator watching this tape, I'm saying these guys, like I said, ran 7 or 8 different run schemes. You know, their play actions and their pass game was built off it beautifully. Their screen game was built off it beautifully. And then if I'm a forward thinker and I'm going, well, what can they do off of this? It's spiderweb, man. It's limitless, you know?
And I think a lot of these, and we're going back to the tight ends, I think they're so athletic. They're interchangeable with the receivers, whether it's 12 personnel, 11 personnel.
And that presents its own ball of wax.
There you go. I mean, the same plays they run with 3 or 4 receivers, they could run out of 12. I believe these guys are capable, and I'm quite sure they're knowledgeable to run the same routes. And as you said before, it's about favorable matchups, numbers, and as you said, it's a spider web. So Udell, whoever it is,
you're going to get guys out of man-to-man because, you don't necessarily want to go cover Tyler Warren out, split out, you know.
No, I mean,
solo.
I'll do my best.
You know, or
ask Mike Gesicki.
Yeah. I mean, you can up there jam him up a little bit. But
Big Mike.
But I mean, you know, it's just, you know, you can then force the defense to get in the zone, and they have to play conservative. And then when they really want to tip their hand on blitzes, it looks a lot cleaner in zone. So, I just think the offense did a beautiful job, and I really don't have a ton of bad, right? No. Like, the only bad would be, like, why didn't you try and do a little more? And one thing they talked about was kind of getting away from the run game in the red zone when they got down there. But at the end of the day, I think it was just something that they always knew they had in their back pocket. Right. And this week, maybe their game plan was to go ahead and try to get some of those, you know, high, mid, and low red pass concepts on tape, and
which,
you know,
from my, you know, tape study, they had favorable looks, and guys were breaking open. Obviously, not every play works out to a T, but back to the run game, like you said, both running backs about 10, 12 touches, 5.5 yards a pop. At the end of the day, when you can do that at a consistent clip, which is a beautiful sight, as we all know, you know, the possibilities are endless. And as you said, the O-line, I believe, did a great job. Not everything was perfect, but it's week one. And like you said, guys, pregame, not jitters, but, you know, guys just hyped up.
They're going to settle in.
They're going to settle in. It's like mac and cheese, you know.
Yeah.
You take it out the oven, it's hot, it's a little mushy, but let it settle in and it's just right.
Let it
settle. You know what I'm saying? A little buffalo chicken dip.
No doubt, bro. But that's, I mean, having that run game's like your binky too.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? It's like, well, shoot, we're just going to turn around and hand it to two of the best backs in the country. So,
right. Which a lot of those almost pop too. You know, they can go any which way. Guys got good vision, but I believe everything was blocked up nicely, and there were a few that almost popped, and they will. And
I'm going to tell you this too. I said it, fresh legs. Like, both these teams had a ton of fresh legs, but by week 5, week 6, and that grind starts kicking in, and you have backs. You have 2 backs that aren't carrying the brunt of the load.
Right.
By week 6 and 7, some of those things where they got shoestrung tackled or something like that, like, they're going to be explosives because they're doing a great job of distributing the workload in the backfield. So I'm really, really looking forward to that. I think it's, again, limitless, and I'm really excited to see what Yurcich dials up. Not necessarily this week, but moving out throughout the rest of the schedule.
And I just want to mention one more thing. Like I said, I really was pleased with every little piece of the game that I watched. And we're talking about Drew's performance, and as we all see, you know, Big Ten Player of the Week, Offensive Player of the Week, and he did a great job. The things that I look for, and you touched on it, you know, just the little nuances of being a starting quarterback in the Big Ten, Power 5 college football team. Like, I really appreciated that sack. He got popped right in the mouth, and he got right back up. And as we keep saying, everyone's saying he's stoic, he's composed. That's where you see it right there. Got popped right in the mouth, got back up. Didn't seem like it fazed him. Obviously, we don't want a quarterback hit. There's things to clean up, but those are the things that make me like, okay, we're in good hands. Obviously, he can sling it and the numbers and this and that. Those little things make me feel good, at least.
I always kind of like getting hit. Kind of like the first good one, like, really just settled you in. You're like, all right, cool, like, I'm here now.
Right. You need it. Everyone needs it.
Yeah,
everyone needs it.
Little welcome to the show, kid. So defense now. You know, I think you're gonna have a little different perspective than me on this. I have some bones to pick.
Yeah.
But give me your synopsis. Dial it down. Again, they gave up 15 points.
Yeah.
You give up 15 points with this offense, you're gonna win a lot of ball games.
Right.
And I don't want to make this a big overreaction.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. And I get it. It goes to the, you know, the hype and expectations that we all have, and we rightfully should have because the talent is so high. I'll start with kind of opposite of our O-line, which we believe had a good game.
Yeah.
Same thing. Week 1, things to clean up. The way our O-line, I would say, dominated the line of scrimmage. They won that battle. And I get it, everyone's kind of up in a roar about the gashes in the run game. It wasn't necessarily the same way that our O-line dominated. They didn't control the line of scrimmage the way we did. We got gashed, what I would say is more on gap accountability, which is they weren't pushing us around in layman's terms. Things we can correct, whether it's linebackers, D-line. I know everyone's, you know, talking about the size and this and that, but which is a thing, but I believe our guys, well, one, I didn't mention either. Guys are built up better than I've been around. Once again, Chuck Losey's strength staff, Alvin. Team looks good. I mean, they're built, they're fast.
Sending all these dudes off the bus first.
All these dudes off the bus first. I mean, so don't get it twisted. The guys are strong as ever, and that's what I mean, like, we weren't dominated on the line of scrimmage. We got gashed, which is true, but things that are correctable, in my opinion.
Yeah. I try to take this on that side of the ball. Maybe it's just because I'm an offensive guy. But on that side of the ball, I try to look at everything from a big picture, right? And I think West Virginia is a microcosm of ultimately where the expectations set on us before the season have us going, and then I think where Coach Franklin internally wants us to go. And I think he recruited a certain body type and a certain way, and I think that was to compete with Ohio State. Michigan is now wearing the crown, back-to-back Big Ten champs. It's a completely different mentality at Michigan, right? But it's weird. It's like that double-edged sword where you start trying to build and compete with Michigan, and then Ohio State kind of swings around, and there's only so many of those guys that can be multiple. And I said this last week, especially on the interior of the defense, who are big, strong, fast, the whole nine.
Right.
They don't grow on trees, right? And it's really hard to even develop those types of human beings. So I think that mentality, coach has obviously picked his side. And I thought out of every team that I watched, East to West was probably the fastest defense on Saturday. And I'm talking East to West, top down, sideline to sideline. Very, very scary. I thought the back half looked phenomenal. Yeah. But again, that interior downhill run stopping ability. And I think, you mentioned, I think there's obviously some discipline factors to that, but I think that there's also a little bit of just overall man versus man matchup perspectives of that as well. So what I'm looking forward to seeing is, again, how Manny Diaz can take those Emmys and corrections that he saw from this game, and then now morph that into him studying tendencies, him studying, the Michigans of the world and more of those downhill physical running teams. And how can I maybe gain an edge from a scheme standpoint with the understanding that I'm going to coach these guys up and get them extremely disciplined with being gap sound and making sure they're not, running through stuff and staying at the right depth. Like, there's a ton of things that go into it. But, from a big picture standpoint, that's where I want to continue to see the development. And I'm not worried. Yeah. I'm just pointing something out that I think is going to be a glaring deficiency against some of those powerhouses. Right. And it's not even just in the Big Ten right now. If you're talking college football playoff and you got people picking us to win the national championship, it's Georgia, it's Alabama, so you have to be able to match up with those guys. And I think that's kind of the big 3 or 4 programs that have that unique combination of athleticism, size, and then the ability to be multiple with all of those things. Right. So I think that Manny has a little bit more of a coaching job to get us to that point. For sure. Than maybe those other programs. Yeah.
I think we talked about it, where last few years we're maybe more accustomed to, a big Austin Johnson, Daquan Jones, these guys that are going to two gap and really, anchor down. PJ Mustipher, the guys like that. So we're definitely a little accustomed to that. But from my perspective as a linebacker, like I said, there's MEs and I'm not going to panic, but at the end of the day, there's no excuse at all either. What I'm expecting out of linebackers is regardless, we make the D-line right. You're out of gap. Yeah. We got to get off blocks and be in the gap or wherever it may be to make the play. So I know Manny and the defense, the coaches, Coach Franklin, are going to be on those guys about getting it right because that's where those gashes come from.
Let me ask you this. I would think it would be a lot easier to make a guy like Austin Johnson or Daquan Jones or Jordan Davis from Georgia. I think it would be a lot easier to make him right than somebody who's kind of getting, for lack of a better term, is behind kicked by a double team.
Yeah, for sure. But I don't think I personally didn't see that as much. It was more to the point of what you said, guys getting too much depth. Right, yeah. Because the guys are so fast and twitched up, more on the Aaron Donald kind of body type.
Right. Yeah, no, for sure. And I'm not knocking it. I think it can get the job done.
Right. I think that's more of it, not an issue, but more of the problem I saw week 1. Guys are getting off the ball so fast, they're almost getting too much depth. And as you know, that creates lanes on itself.
And does that make your job harder?
It does. Now linebackers, O-line is getting up on the guys a little bit faster, and you got to be able to make those guys correct a little faster. Right. And at the same time, they're blitzing. There's a lot of pressure, so you're making decisions on the move, which is also a little harder. But that's also the double-edged sword of that aggressive defense. We're going to attack. And at the end of the day, the speed, a lot of plays they made up for with speed. Right. Maybe an edge wasn't locked down, but linebackers, Curtis Jacobs, Abdul Carter, Kobe King, whoever, DBs, Akeem Wheatley, they're coming off the edge, flying down with speed, sideline to sideline, like you said. So I was pleased with the performance. Did it necessarily, wow me? No.
Yeah.
And what we want out of these guys, the expectations we want, definitely the standard is high. So
I'll say I was optimistically disappointed because year 2 with Manny, I just thought that they would have come out with a little more, like, it's not even pride, right? Like, it's just like with a little more crispness.
A little teed up.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
like a little more like on it. You got Abdul back.
Right.
It's supposed to kind of be your general back there in the front 7. So I just very correctable.
Right.
But for me, again, big picture, I got to see that growth quickly. And I really don't think, I think we're going to see microcosms of it this week.
Yeah.
And even a few of these early games, but maybe that Iowa game, even Illinois is not a bad football.
No, a lot of people are talking about Illinois. They're downhill too. So
Brett Bielema's got him. Brett Bielema's got him. Built into that toughness, blue collar type mentality. So, maybe that'll be a game to watch and see if we can get some correction with that.
Yeah, I know a lot of people were mentioning the mailbag, and we'll get to the mailbag in a full segment. But and then you touched on it too. I think that this week 1 of just opposite of people thinking of falling beneath the hype is not underperforming and not living up to it. I think they might have been. That's the too hype almost, where guys are flying around a little too fast, and then maybe not
trying to do a little too much.
Trying to do a little too much, make the big splash play, the big hit, and I think just getting back to the fundamentals, trusting the scheme, correcting the MEs, they'll make it right, and I think that's what I would expect in a week like this against Delaware is that crispness you're saying. That's what I want to see. I want to see the crisp. Not everything's going to be perfect, but, execution.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think anyone's doubting your opinion on that, me included. So, with that, you mentioned it. We did drop the Mailbag Monday. We are so appreciative of the responses that we got both on Brandon and Mai's feeds and then also at State Media PSU. Drop them in those DMs as much as possible. Trying to get some traffic over to that page. And I know us as Penn Staters can really get together on that. So, again, we really appreciate it. We are not going to cover all of them. A lot of them did have overlapping themes.
Yeah, we definitely answered some questions.
We answered some questions already. But let's talk about a few. B.
Where do you want to go?
Grab one, man.
Let's go. Let's go. I don't want. That's too big picture. Let's go. We'll start with J Fox. 2088, and he says, "How does Coach Franklin handle the team coming off a big win and going into a sleeper game? Anything different, or is it always business as usual?"
My personal opinion on this is, again, big picture, comparing yourself to the godfathers of college football right now, or the programs that have sit at the table for a really long time.
Yep.
You don't see letdowns from week to week, really, right? You have a couple here and there, but especially when you're stepping into a team like Delaware, coming off of a victory like West Virginia, having the youth at some key positions and then the corrections that need to be made, I don't think that you're necessarily going to be able to make a ton of those corrections against a defense like Delaware or a program like Delaware. I'm not knocking them, but when you're talking about the talent pool that you're pulling from, so on and so forth, it's a completely different ballgame. But what I do want to see is the ability to come off this high and continue to kind of mellow out and then ride that consistent line that you need to ride to be able to handle business the way you're supposed to handle business this week. Whether that's hang 30 in the first half, get a ton of reps for twos, or roll the boys out for the for the third, fourth quarter,
right? And
see what happens. But just really try to avoid a lackluster performance where the MEs kind of come back and very, very correctable and controllable things start rearing their ugly heads. Yeah. And for me, that's like I said, I'm going to be up there. That's what I'm looking for. I want to see this team come out extremely focused with the understanding that this is about us, not about who's across the sideline from us, and how we can go. And I think Coach Franklin has preached that about 1 week at a time, 1-0 this week, so on and so forth. But I think that this team, for the first time, top to bottom competitiveness, can really focus in on them, compete, and push each other to get better and continue to grow, no matter who's across the field from.
Yeah, and I'll just add on to that. I'm expecting the second half of West Virginia, as we saw, they came out and performed the way we wanted to see in the first half, and that's what I expect out of this game.
Yeah, my guy Chris Zielinski asked a similar thing. By any chance, were you featured in the Tommy Boy film? Are you you related to the Zielinski guy, the Zielinski Auto Parts?
That's funny.
Oh, jeez. All right, let's jump into where's my guy.
Just front, back, or just front?
No, this is just front. I'm gonna go with my guy Jonathan Coker. Long-standing social media relationship, my guy. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Legit percentage that we shock the world and make the playoff. And then what other teams besides Michigan and Ohio State do you see on our schedule thus far that may give the Nittany Lions problems? I think that's a really well thought out question.
Yeah. I'll go legit percentage we shock the world and make the playoffs. I don't think it'll be a shock to the world, but I'll say 90%.
90%.
95. I'm confident. I feel good. I mean, we keep talking about, everything the team has and talent and depth and opportunity. And, well, for one, I'm not going to say this is just one magical year.
Yeah.
I hope and believe this is the consistency we expect for years to come and get at that table that you're speaking of, that the 3-4 teams have been at.
Yeah, it's like that dark smoky room in the back of like a New Jersey old New Jersey Italian. Yeah,
smoking cigars, low hats.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll say that. What other teams besides Michigan, Ohio State?
I mean, we touched on one, Illinois,
but
and
I'll go big picture is like exactly what you said. I don't think anyone should be worrying about anyone. It's about us. Yeah. And they have all the talent and ability to just truly, truly, truly focus on just them. And whoever they roll out week after week, it's the same message. It's the same drills. It's the same effort and everything like that. The consistency we're looking for, that we see these, the teams at the table perform. There's no lows. So regardless of who they roll out, you respect every opponent, and I want to see the same exact, vigor in every week.
Yeah, I mean, I think where we really start, I'll touch on the playoff after this, but I think where we really got to start paying attention is the Illinois-Iowa stretch. I think we're going to learn a little something. I think Iowa's always going to be coached well. They're going to be tough. And I think Cade's going to settle in, and hopefully that offense can continue to score more than 14 points a game. And then, obviously you got Ohio State, but that's between UMass and Indiana. And then Michigan, and then you have Maryland and Michigan. Maryland, Michigan, Rutgers, and then Michigan State to finish the year. So I think that stretch can be one to really obviously pay attention to. It's kind of the dog stretch of the season. Again, week one, it's kind of tough. We don't have a ton of data on these guys. But from what I saw, just high level, I think that those two stretches are going to be really important in terms of how we handle it. And then when it comes to the college football playoff, it's pretty evident. I mean, two teams from the Big Ten made it last year. I think that it's the winner of the Big Ten is going to always have a seat.
Yep.
At the table.
Of course, if it's not if it's the 2016 Penn State team.
Hey,
I mean, who's still thinking about that? So,
you got a bone to pick?
Water under the rug, whatever they say.
I hope you don't got water under the rug, man.
Yeah, no, it's moldy.
Yeah, disgusting. But I really do think that without the development quite on the West, I think Wisconsin's going to be back. Ruli's got to figure out a few things on offense. It might take him a year or two, but I think just the additions coming in, I think the coaching staffs over there, I got a ton of respect for them. But realistically speaking, you're talking Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State, right? And I said it to begin, I thought that Michigan and Penn State looked a lot more crisp than Ohio State did. I think Ohio State's got some things that they're going to correct, and I said that they're going to correct because they will, and they have too much talent not to. And that's always gonna they're never out of it in my eye. And I think that when you cut it up like that, it's 33, 33, 33, right? Like you gotta split with them and at least split with them and hope something else works out in your favor. It'd be really nice if you get both of them. So if you get both of them, you control your own destiny. So I think it's going to really come down to those three things, and that's obviously a very extremely obvious point. Right. But that's what you got to do to get there. So
and just I just want to touch on the like you said, that back half stretch of the season. Maybe it's week 2. I think we talk about this depth. We'll really find out, as we know, no team stays the same is health. Yeah. And God willing, team stays as it is, healthy, guys come back, whoever's hurt now. But that's where the true testament comes, when guys, like you said, guys are banged up, not feeling 100%. There's no fresh legs.
Or something like what happened today with Abdul, right?
Yeah.
Like, that is what it is. It's going to be handled internally. But you mentioned a few kids. One of the kids we mentioned last week, Tony Rojas. Yeah. Like, you couldn't be a better week rolling into Delaware. And couldn't be a better situation for those guys to step up, next man up. Yep.
Every team, every year is going to have trials and tribulations, no matter what it is. And I think this is just the first, maybe not the first, because we've seen some guys, have to retire from the team. So, right. Hearts out with those guys. But, there's going to be things throughout every season, every team. You see it, whether it's NFL pros, leaving Little League, little Jimmy's tummy hurts one week, whatever it is. But it's going to be something that, slows you off the tracks a little bit, but it's the good teams that stay on the track no matter what happens, and they get back onto it. And there's opportunity, like we said, Tony Rojas played a lot. Like we said, a lot of opportunity, got some tick out there. We spoke on this kid, VA kid. Yeah. He looks the part. Once again, another piece that looks the part, man. I saw an interview. He said player he looks up to is Fred Warner. And I think he has all the capabilities to obviously be himself, but to live up to that type of hype. He has the body type.
Yeah, man.
Now he's getting in the system. He's flying around out there in the second half last week. Got some good hits. I can just tell the way he gets off blocks. There's strength and there's natural strength. For a freshman kid.
You had a lot of that natural strength.
I had a natural strength. I might shock you every now and then, but to just ragdoll O-line kind of at ease wasn't my forte. Yeah. And I could see it out there with him. He's running around, getting off blocks, so there's a lot of upside. And, I'm excited to see whoever steps in there, what they can do. As I always preach, LBs make the plays, man, no matter who's out there. And there's no question in my mind, though, there'll be no slack, no drop-off.
Cool. Let's get 2 more.
We kind of touched on O-line evaluations with Drew moving around a little bit. Special teams evals. From
we did kind of gloss over
Lion Louisville. Yeah, we glossed over special teams. We touched on offense, defense, special teams. Yeah, for me that would be the lowest grade from the week 1 performance for me. Obviously, still some good things, but definitely I know Coach Franklin is a little heated. Obviously, you want perfection, but definitely some things to clean up, even outside of the field goal situation, which we all watched. I think even just the punt protection is one thing I noticed. Definitely too much leakage in my opinion. Kicker, he's solid. He had the one he got lucky on the kick. Still made it to the end zone. Wasn't the prettiest thing, but to the field goal situation, it's tough. It's tough. Definitely something to pay attention to. The bright side, in my opinion, is back to the depth. Another guy was able to step in and do the job, so we'll see where that goes. And I know Coach Franklin's drilling it in practice. He's always putting pressure on these guys, so there's no question in my mind it'll be figured out. How long and when and where, we'll see. What are your takes on that first week performance?
Yeah, tough, obviously, and I think kickers it's an extremely fragile position mentally. because of the limited amount of opportunities and the expectations of success.
Yeah. College kickers.
But I will say this, that position, specifically the place kicker, field goal kicker, is going to be they're going to either make or not make a play that's going to define the season at some point in time. Yeah. That's my bold prediction. Whether it's against Michigan with 3 seconds left or Ohio State in overtime. I think that position is going to make or break the season for these guys at some point in time. And to your point, I don't think Coach Franklin is going to gloss over that. I think he's going to continue to put the pressure on. And ultimately, the best guy for the team is going to be rolled out there on a consistent basis. Yeah. But, sucks. It's tough, but it's also part of it, man. Yeah. And you get two choices. You can duck your head in the sand like an ostrich and, kind of bow out, or you can attack it. And I think the kid that started did that. Coach Franklin highlighted it in his press conference this week. He got up in front of the team. I think that goes a long way. It does. As both former captains, I think that goes a long way when you have a guy who can step up and own it in front of his guys. Right. Now let's see how he practices. Right.
And even back to the atmosphere in the locker room and amongst the position rooms. Seems like him and the kid that came in have good chemistry, and the whole special teams room, and that goes a long way. Like you said, it's a very fragile position mentally, so that's more than half the battle. And we'll see how it plays out. We'll see who rolls out there week 2 against Delaware. And like we said, we're looking for crispness no matter who it is. So that's the expectation.
All right, last one. B. What do we want to do? What do we want to do?
What's the craziest recruiting story? I don't know.
We got to stay away from that one.
We'll stay away from that one. But I like the second half of this question from Max Malik. He says, do you guys think you will continue to explore the world of sports media and sports journalism? If the opportunity arose, would you be willing to work for a major network, ESPN, Fox Sports, CBS, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera?
Shoot. I'm just really thankful right now and kind of doing this because I like getting around with Brandon. I like getting around with Adam. And very fortunate that Mercury was able to A, obtain the relationship with Penn State, and then B, bring us along with it as part of the initial team. And then, state media, PSU, and so on and so forth. So right now, just kind of taking the slow ride
for sure
and building up. But definitely really, really enjoying this. Hopefully you guys are as well. And something that, who knows?
Yeah.
Doors are always open.
Oh, you can't close them.
Always open for business, dog. Like Chad Johnson.
No, always open, baby.
I'm open. 2 a.m. I'm open.
Where's 85?
Yeah.
Shout out to Chad. But for me, I'll say same thing. Doors always open, and the same thing. I'm very appreciative of this opportunity and talking Penn State football. I mean, love it. Always doing it. So
no better place than home.
No better place. So it made sense. And for me, I've been privileged enough. That's kind of been my second career out of playing football in the league. Is working production. I've been behind the scenes at not these studios, but NFL Films and working with talent that we're questioning what we could do. And I always think about it, it's naturally not my personality. That's why this kind of fits me better. It's a little bit more laid back. I've been a part of the productions where it's the big lights in the studio, and I enjoy actually helping behind the scenes. But I do appreciate this lax approach with this, although we're taking it very seriously. But same thing, never close any doors. People have always told me, oh, you should be on camera. I'm on camera now, so this works.
I made it. Yeah, I think that's, I think it's good. And like you said, I don't want to go off on a tangent here, but I think the direction that sports media coverage and so on and so forth is going is a lot of this. This is very consumable. Right. People can flip this on in the car. Right. And you see a transition from the consumer side to what they want, and a lot of those major networks are doing things like this. So I think it's a good spot to get a bunch of reps and see where it goes.
Yeah, man. So that'll do it for the Mailbag Monday. Appreciate you guys.
The first Mailbag Monday.
A lot of good ones.
B, you got it next week.
I got it. I'll go. Look out for me. posting up the Mailbag Monday. Hit us again, man. Once again, feel bad for anyone we didn't hit, but keep them coming. We'll get you next week. Make sure we don't get too many repeat offenders or whatever you want to call it.
Maybe we'll mix it up. Maybe we'll bring in an actual mailbag or something.
Yeah, I like that.
like draw. So we're not we're not reading off a highlighted sheet here.
Somebody is a little bit too. We're trying to keep it a little PG. So some wild recruiting stories. You might just have to catch us at a tailgate or something.
Correct.
I know that's
correct. That is correct.
Yeah, things are a little different now, so we'll stay away from that.
But yeah, mailbag success.
Monday. I like it.
So moving on, man. We touched on it, but Delaware. I want to get high level thoughts. I think we pretty much provided both of our opinions and what we're looking for and what we're looking to see. But I think obviously Delaware, being a smaller program but a well-respected program, could present some issues, especially if we come out flat.
Can't sleep.
And like I said, I think it's, for me at least, I'm really looking for the maturity from a program standpoint, from the locker room standpoint. I know the coaching staff continually preaches it, but again, I really want to see those guys really buy into it and show up this Saturday and not skip a beat with the understanding that it's about them,
right? And
the job is nowhere close to being done.
Yeah. And I think offensively, you spoke on it, kind of keep spreading that vast net of what our capabilities are.
You got a war chest, dude? Dip into it.
Yeah, dip into it. Keep giving future. Coaches have to think, and it's 1 week at a time, but they're always planning a step ahead. So keep widening that net, making it difficult for the next defensive coordinator and team. So I won't be surprised if we see the same number of attempts for Drew. I think establish the run, know that we can do it, and like you said, give it the binky if need be, 5 yards a pop. I love it. And, I'd expect, and I'd love to watch, air it out a little bit, get the tight ends involved, get the receivers involved. You said the talent is crazy. I want to see the McCain kid. Man, he looks good.
Yeah.
Part of it's the number 11, I'll just say. But big kid. You touched on it. And everyone has, I know there's a little bit of drops, but I love the hands and the comfortability that it seems Drew has thrown to any of these guys.
Yeah. Someone, and another mailbag, I don't want to get into it, but someone talked about, you got one or two guys and then everyone else is kind of there, and how does that affect the timing of a quarterback? To me, I really don't think it does, especially in today's game in the offensive schemes that are out there. It's a lot of throw to green grass and let your guys run into those holes, especially if you're attacking zone. Then if it becomes a man-to-man matchup, like any of these guys can win against man-to-man. Yeah. So realistically speaking, I don't think that there's necessarily a growth from a timing standpoint. Does it help? For sure. But these guys have a ton of reps under their belt. And I know that, to your point, Malik McLean's came in, and like I said, I think he fits a certain niche. 6'4", big body, can run after the catch. Then you have, Keandre Lambert-Smith. You got so many guys that can take the top off, and a guy who had one catch for 22 yards in Cephas, who's arguably probably the most seasoned guy in terms of reps under his belt,
college career,
and a college career standpoint, who's definitely poised for a big breakout game. So. Yeah. You got tons of guys. I think Drew's probably comfortable with all of them.
It could be any guys, day, night, I believe. Like you said, to the tight end room as well at any given moment. So that's exciting to me.
Yeah. So
and I'll just say you touched on guys beating man coverage, and we know that'll come up big against the top dogs and the Michigans, Ohio States. They're going to strap up, lock up, and the critical downs. And not to dive too deep, but that's what I saw a lot of our defense as well. Third down came along. Not sure if I touched on this, but third down came along. We're in dudes' faces, bringing the heat and making you beat us. And I think to have the talent to do that across, four wide, from the nickel to outside. The kid Cam Miller was in there, had a bunch of tick. Big body corner, number 5. First year really out there. I love it. It's a lot to see. Once again, the depth, keep talking about it. But just challenging guys, those are the attributes we're going to need in those big games. Comes down to one-on-one.
And the coaching staff having the stones to do that.
Yeah.
Especially defensively.
Right.
I mean, Manny obviously has a ton of confidence in that entire list of guys that you just said to do that in critical positions. And, we'll continue to see as that develops. But
yep, and that confidence reflects, man. It reflects. You can go. I'll probably say this every week.
Yeah.
But confidence in college football can go a long way.
A long damn way, man. I think that's a great way to end this episode. Extremely appreciative of it. Again, this is the Pocket Podcast, brought to you by State Media, PSU, powered by Mercury. We'll be here every week, man.
Yep.
Chopping it up, breaking it down. The season's obviously just started. It's young, and we're really excited about it. So, breakdowns. B gave you some really good stuff on defense.
Thank you, man.
Shoot, dude. I mean, you got in the weeds there a couple times. So
we'll try. Keep it open. Keep it broad too. Observing college football, as we said, we're gonna talk. We asking about playoffs, so it's not just the Big Ten. It's all of Power 5, so that's the place we want to be. So keep an eye on all of that, and keep hitting us with the Mailbag Monday. And like the same thing, keep it broad too. I love the Penn State, but keep it broad. Where our eyes are out there on everything.
No doubt, we are everywhere and nowhere at the same time.
I love it.
So with that, again, this is Pocket Podcast with Christian Hackenberg.
B. Bell.
See you guys next week.